Hi there, my name is Caitlin McCarthy, and welcome to my presentation about landfills. Normally this presentation would be to a class, so it would involve class discussion and activities, but in this scenario, just feel free to pause at any time and reflect on your own. Okay, so we'll get started. So all over the world, every country, every province, state, or city has a different kind of solution for waste. In most places, these solutions have made incredible advances over the centuries in some areas of the world. Some are eco-friendly and some are not. Some places have advanced waste management systems and recycling systems or programs, while others have little to no waste management system or programs at all. And as a result, they throw their garbage out onto the street, into rivers, oceans, lakes, or just right out their windows. However, even the most advanced systems, or even our own waste management system, like we have here in Saskatchewan, has its own drawbacks. So this presentation, prezi, will look into the vast problems and possible solutions of landfills. So this is my presentation, Landfills, the solution for waste that became a problem. So to start, we will show this little video. I'll just show you a little bit of it just to give you a general idea of what a landfill really is and what's the big deal associated with them.
And more highly toxic methane gas builds up as they work. Imagine a giant plastic bathtub in the ground. Trash is added to the open tub and covered each day with daily cover, such as contaminated soil or ground up construction debris. As time goes by, more and more trash is piled on, and more highly toxic methane gas builds up as the trash decomposes. This is when you start to get that trash smell. You know the one. Any water that's in the trash, or any rain or snow that seeps through the cover, starts to trickle down through the garbage. When water and waste are mixed, it creates a toxic, poisonous soup called leachate. Leachate contains all the dangerous stuff that's in a lot of what people throw in the trash. The tens of thousands of chemicals, heavy metals, and other toxic materials found in electronics, batteries, prescription drugs, and plastics, just to name a few. Now the leachate, containing these poisons, percolates through the trash and eventually pools at the bottom. One set of pipes collects the liquid and takes it to the collection tank. Another set of pipes collects and diverts.
Okay, so that is a good idea, or gives you a good sense of what landfills are and some of the beginning problems that are associated with them. So we'll move over to the main problems here. So there are several problems that are associated with landfills. First is one of the obvious ones: they take up a lot of space, and of course they can smell awful. However, they also result in air pollution, which negatively impacts ecosystems. They can cause groundwater pollution, which will have negative effects on the fertility of soil, and it can also have a negative impact on one's own health. And then, so as I have listed here on the prezi, so one of the main problems is air pollution, and what I have written down is as a result of decaying garbage and mixing chemicals within the garbage, create a gas called methane gas, which is 20 times more worse than carbon dioxide. Methane is also one of the leading greenhouse gases, which is one of the results in climate change, such as global warming. The other one that I have listed here is groundwater pollution. So when it rains, the chemicals within the landfill leach into the ground and into the soil, which can cause soil infertility, which would prevent plants and other kinds of vegetation from growing in that area, or if there is already vegetation there, just destroying it in general or polluting it, which could then also poison plants and also poison the water systems if it leaches into the water systems, and therefore animals can come in from there, eat those poisonous plants or drink from that poisonous body of water, and poisoning the animals. So then I said here, poisoning the water supply. Consequences can be deadly, leaving us and several other ecosystems seriously ill. So if it leaks into the water, not only poisoning animals, but ourselves as well if it gets into our water system. So lastly, there are also visual and health impacts that landfills cause on people. Visually, landfills, they're simply not appealing to look at. They also cause heavy traffic with people always coming and going from them, dropping stuff off. So they're noisy, and of course, like I said earlier, they smell bad. It's a giant pile of garbage, and garbage attracts insects, rodents, wild animals, and of course diseases. And there are several types of effects and diseases that can be caused by living near a landfill, such as the birth defects, cancer, and respiratory illnesses. So let's move on. So now let's talk about who's at risk. So what I have listed here is like when you think of the main ones, the environment's at risk, people are at risk, animals are at risk, and plants are at risk. So let's look at each of the players involved. So of course, there is the environment and the ecosystem. The landfill, just to be made in general, it, as you saw in the video, clears out all the trees, digs a big hole in the ground, and eventually builds up, builds up, builds up. Methane gas is being released, other chemicals are being released, basically destroying the environment and the ecosystem around it, which as a result moves into the other players, the plants and or the animals, poisoning plants, causing soil infertility, preventing things to grow. Plant soil is contaminated due to sucking up all the polluted water from the landfill, therefore poisoning or destroying all the vegetation around the landfill. Animals in this environment can drink the polluted water and become sick and or die. Also, because of lack of vegetation due to soil infertility, there is also less food for the animals to eat. And another kind of player for animals is the animals that we just talked about that the landfills attract, such as the rodents and the insects. Again, so now there's several different kinds of people involved as players. There's the people who are kind of unaffected by it. So people who don't live near landfills, they put their garbage out into the street or they're recycling out into the street, and then they don't worry about their garbage anymore. So they see landfills as a place where their garbage goes, and that's simply it. Another player is the residents that live near the landfills. It's unappealing to them, heavy traffic, it smells bad, and the chemicals nearby can be associated with illness for those residents nearby. There's also the people that work at the landfills. So this is a direct issue, so it's unhealthy for them to be around all those chemicals all day. So they need to be wearing their PPE, so their protective equipment, to ensure their own safety. And also, not the most appealing job in the world. I guess another set of people, or just another player in general, is the government. So in our specific case, the provincial government, so government of Saskatchewan, specifically Ministry of the Environment. So the Ministry of the Environment is responsible for regulating WDGs, which is waste disposal grounds, and they also run inspections, do reports, and whatnot. So they ultimately decide where the landfills go. And they have developed the environmental code most recently in 2012. And it's kind of like a flexible code which addresses various people's needs, including waste management demands, specifically to accommodate the evolution of environmental science and technology. So that is where their belief and their focus is. And this information is just found on the Government of Saskatchewan website. So those are various players and people who are at risk. The fact is that the landfills are a necessity, so we need to think of a way to live with them. So what can we do? Because if landfills are so bad, why do we have them? Because, well, what else are we going to do? Without them, our cities and towns would be rotting from the inside out, and our cities would simply turn into its own landfill. So, for example, take a beautiful city like Venice in Europe. It, of course, used to be a beautiful city, but as they don't have an advanced garbage waste disposal system, they don't have an advanced sewage system, so all of their sewage just comes up and is polluting the water. Because they don't have an advanced garbage system, they're running out of places to throw their garbage, so they're pouring out windows, there's garbage in streets. So it's an example of a beautiful city that has turned basically into its own landfill. Another problem, like we can't move landfills, but where else would they go? To another part of the environment that would only be there to get destroyed. Start the circle all over again, destroying the environment, more players involved. We can't move it to a body of water because then that would pollute Earth's largest natural resource. So no matter which way you look at it, there's simply no way to discard a landfill. So there was, in fact, scientists that I've heard about developed a way they've started cubing up garbage and sending it on rockets and putting it into space. So it's one kind of way to get rid of all the garbage, but maybe not the most effective money-wise. So is there anything we can do? And luckily, yes, there is something that we can do. Environment Canada has in fact suggested that landfill gas, though the methane, can be recovered and used to generate electricity and fuel industries and heat buildings. So that's a great way to use the poisonous gas coming from the landfills. The two major benefits to recovering and utilizing landfill gas. The first is that capturing and combusting landfill gas prevents substances like methane from escaping to the atmosphere, protecting the ozone. And the second is that using the energy from landfill gas can replace the use of non-renewable sources of energy such as coal, oil, and natural gas. Other things we can do is build landfills farther away from residential areas. Yes, I guess it makes it not as easy to commute to. You have to go a bit farther, but then we're protecting more of we're preventing more health risks from residents that have to live nearby landfills. Again, use the gases caused by landfills as a reusable energy source, like Environment Canada suggested. And the last thing is just sort your garbage. And by sorting your garbage, I mean take your electronics to Sarcan to be recycled, sort out your composting for your backyard, sort out your recycling. I know back home in Saskatoon we have our big blue bin. It's so easy, you can throw cans and milk cartons and egg cartons and paper and everything just in one big bin, and then they take it away for you. So it's super easy to just start recycling. By taking your old electronics to a place like Sarcan, you're automatically reducing methane gas production in landfills because the electronics are a big one. Lastly, if you sort the rest of your garbage from your composting, so things such as food and organic materials, this also decreases the production of methane gases in landfills because you are decreasing the diversity of the garbage in the landfill and therefore decreasing the amount of chemicals and substances that can decompose together. So again, if we were in a class, I would have them do an activity, cutting up foods and sorting, recycling from our composting to garbage. And then that is the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a lot about landfills. Thank you for watching.